Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so very much for being a part of 2023's Creative Juneteenth here with Subsume. My name is Dejan Sneed, and we want to thank you for being a part of this week-long celebration of the creative storytelling and the narratives of new Black speculative spaces, fantastic futures, as well as a look at our legacies and past and how we can all be part of a shared story for tomorrow. So again, my name is Dejan Sneed, and as we talk about our intersections of creativity, technology, and community, I love to bring to our conversation and to our stage a space to talk about how we're innovating stories, particularly Black stories and narratives in the space of technology. And so when we're talking about things such as cybersecurity, AI, machine learning, and data, the idea is that we're looking at how can we include not only these spaces for workforce development, but also changing the narratives of agency and authority. And speaking of that, I think I'd love to bring to the stage an absolute authority in this space, Mr. Odie Gray, who is the president of Diversity Cyber Council and also spearheading a new initiative, Tech is the New Trap, in Atlanta, Georgia, and spaces beyond. So, Odie, a pleasure to have you in on the show. Thank you so very much.
Hey, pleasure. Thank you so much, Dedrin, for inviting me to the space.
Oh,
Happy to be here.
absolutely, absolutely. So, no, thank you. I want to just give a moment for you again to just tell us about yourself, all the many and fantastic spaces that you're impacting technology and inclusion, and of course, just what is Tech is the New Trap.
Absolutely. So I'll start with the intro. So my name is Odie Gray, President of Diversity Cyber Council. We're an Atlanta-based 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission is to train, educate, and staff residents of underserved communities to enter the cybersecurity and technology workforce. That being said, as Dedra mentioned, we recently established a social campaign called Tech is the New Trap, which leverages music, art, and entertainment to reinforce equitable pathways into tech entrepreneurship and tech careers for people of color, at-risk youth, and for women.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I know we've got some exciting things that already been happening in this space, but I want to take one moment to learn a little bit more about your own narrative and story. Now, for you, what was your introduction into the technology space?
That's a great question. My intro, looking back, I started off. My story is actually I got kicked out of high school. I grew up in a rough neighborhood and just a lot of negative influences. And by that desperate need, I ended up joining the military. And that was my introduction into information security. So it started out of necessity, which actually led me to a passion. So just interesting start, non-traditional start, but yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, we like to see the spaces of non-traditional starts because that's where we see so many people find that intersection with technology. They feel like traditionally they're not included. So seeing someone like yourself in your example absolutely is a North Star for so many of us. So now, particularly with cybersecurity, what was defined cybersecurity? Let's take one step back because of course we get a lot of these points and notices when we talk tech. So for your point of experience with cybersecurity, how would you describe that and how that plays a larger part in our lives?
Well, cybersecurity sounds and can be complex, but a simplified version of cybersecurity is saying that it's the protection of digital assets, which includes things like devices and data. Like that's as simple as it gets. But it can it can vary to a wide range of topics from asset management, identity management, governance risk compliance. Like so you can go broad and deep with it, but pretty much protecting digital assets. That's what we do.
Absolutely. And so, of course, the name of the space that you are over, being the president of the Diversity Cybersecurity Council. Where did you, as a was you were you as a entrepreneur, or were you more so looking at it from like the workforce space, where you were employer, or employee, or employer in that sense? Where did you see the need for diversity in the space of cybersecurity?
I love that question. And I would say a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So I was tenured in the workforce about 15 years as a proud Black man. My experiences weren't always the most equitable, right? Being completely honest. And not only that, but there wasn't a lot of representation of people who looked like me in the room. And I think we have to come to an understanding that when that situation applies, how much more of a challenge it becomes for the minority to be considered, I would say, equitable opportunities or equitable pay or equitable promotions or even in the hiring process. We as human beings, we have, I would say, a real complex towards bias, and dissonance does play a factor in our decision making. And until we learn to expand our social bubble and be able to be more accepting to people and things we're not all the way familiar with, dissonance will always apply. So that's why representation is important. That's why having an interview with someone who looks like you and is from your cultural background may be a better character and an assessment of competency than having someone that will first try to understand and relate to you, and it may cause a little bit of indifference, right? So, to answer your question in full, though, uh, yes, it has been Diversity Cyber Council was birthed from my experiences and the experiences of my board being in the technology workforce and understanding that there was a true demand for better equitable experiences for underrepresented professionals.
Just well said. Thank you so very much. Now, to that, leading to your work with the Diversity Cyber Council, and then the formation of Tech as a New Trap. Now, looking at that again for social innovation, which I absolutely love, and and privileged to see this behind the scenes. But now, what was the next step for Tech as a New Trap as far as bridging that gap between needing to have that representation in the workforce and then looking at the workforce of tomorrow?
Yeah, so Tech is a New Trap is all about establishing a systematic solution that leverages our community, our advocacy, opportunities for professional development so we may rise as a collective. We are stronger together, and that's inclusive of all cultures and demographics. And this is about establishing a table where we can belong and where we can build as one, right? The current system, unfortunately, as a wise man told me, it is operating by design to be exclusive, right? And I would say to the advantage of a particular demographic. What we are establishing with Tech as a New Trap is inclusion as the foundation, sharing our authentic stories and experiences to be transformative, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now to that, looking at systems and designs. Now, bringing someone in from, say, layman to where they may not have any experience, but maybe have the capacity, of course, that they can be a part of the cybersecurity field. I know also part of your expertise is building training development programs for that. For someone that may be listening now that is interested in cybersecurity, like for the entry level positions or opportunities there, what is kind of timeline are you looking at, and what type of skills does someone need to have to be to really perform well in the space of cybersecurity?
Yeah, first and foremost, two skills. First, desire and wanting it, and knowing you could do it. Honestly, in our programs, we've had people who didn't know the difference between a router and a switch graduate our program in less than 6 weeks, go on to become certified entry level technology professionals, and start making an annual salary of $50,000 to $60,000. You do not need a technology degree to work as a technology professional. That is a myth. What you do need is the technology workforce readiness, skill set, and competency that shows that you can provide value to an organization. To further that, I would say the academic and traditional institution environment is unable to keep pace with the technology workforce. We've seen the impact that something like a technology like Chat GPT is introduced and is wrecking and disrupting industries. There is no degree on Chat GPT. It just came out, what, a few months ago, right? So being able to invest in more agile training programs and curriculums such as boot camps like what we offer and what Subsume offers versus a 4-year degree granting institution where once you graduate, that degree may be outdated, right? So you run the risk of, you know, not keeping up with the pace of the workforce, which we're on our hands. We're getting you skilled immediately, getting you to the workforce immediately, and now you're able to accrue experience and build as a professional.
No, absolutely well said. And that's something that I like about this particular initiative and seeing its space. I think you said a word earlier of agility, the idea to be able to move and connect and pivot where the talent is and getting the talent into the new spaces that, again, as you say, like a traditional model does not either include them or is catching up in the skills and talent and connections that are needed to be successful in that space. So now let's take a look from there as far as taking tech as a new trap and kind of jumping back and forth. But I really like the idea of tech as a new trap, again, being able to bring in that new workforce in space. So now what have you seen have been some of the advantages of forming this consortium, and where do you see tech as a new trap overall being able to impact the technology and workforce development fields?
Yeah. So taking a step back, let me provide context to those who may not be initiated of what trap means, right? So trap is a term popularized by a lot of Atlanta artists back in the day, and pretty much is symbolic of street culture, street life. And ultimately, what we're saying when we say tech is a new trap is applying the ingenuity and the hustle and the resiliency of what trap represents and applying it to the tech workforce. So, tech is the new trap, tech is the new way to earn a living, tech is the new hustle, right? So, in this campaign, we are presenting the messaging to people who understand it. What we oftentimes do as nonprofits is lose people in our messaging. We talk at people and not to them. So even in our messaging in our campaign, we're providing an equitable way to resonate with the people we aim to serve. To say, hey, we see you, we understand you, and we are familiar with you. So we're going to meet you where you are, which is true equity, instead of expecting you to meet us where we are. And then going back to your question about like establishing the consortium, it's all about serving the community as a community, right? They're breaking down the silos and firing the gatekeepers. Like, let's figure out a way where we can build together, grow together, and really, really use kindness and love as the foundation, right? I think we need to re-promote that. I think it has been lost in the larger context of popular culture, and let's re-embrace that and let that be our path moving forward in terms of not just professional development but our overall growth as society. So yeah, tech is a new trap, and the consortium is about establishing a front door to the community for technology workforce readiness programs in a way that will lead them to the economic progress that I would say has not always been available and present. So, yeah, that would be my answer.
Oh, it was a fantastic answer. Thank you so very much. Now, looking at the idea of that next part of, again, taking the hustle, the drive, and the initiative of that space, is there any reason or reasons, again, that you feel like that traditional models aren't seeing that? I mean, I know there are some that we talked about. Of course, we're talking about systematically. It seems like we're separated, but it would seem in a space that has so much opportunity and jobs and necessity to have talent in these spaces that there's still a disconnect between the people that need these jobs and a lot of the not-for-profits that are servicing really boots on the ground on there. From your space of expertise, where are the disconnects that our ecosystem and technology are missing?
Well, there are quite a few, and I would say one of the biggest is the people getting the money uh, aren't the people who have the most familiarity with the community. There are a lot of Black communities that are not serviced by Black-led nonprofits because of the funding disparity. And again, that goes back to social bubble. And if I'm a predominantly white foundation that extends grants to nonprofits, the first people in my social bubble more than likely are going to be white-led nonprofits. And this has been the historic and an equitable system, right? And I think it's important to provide a call to action to foundations that truly, in their heart, want to be transformative, want to be equitable, meet Black-led nonprofits and others where they are. Stop expecting them to sway you and convince you. If you truly have a heart to give, if you truly have a heart to create a legacy that breeds solutions to societal problems. Link up with the people who have the blueprint, who have made it out of those communities, and who have not only an impactful story, but has the impactful metrics to prove it. Because we exist, we're out here, right? And the strength of our consortium is not only in the nature of our relationships, but is also in the nature of our support, because there's such a lack of support, unfortunately, for these individual underrepresented nonprofits. So, yeah, that would be the call to action, and that would absolutely be one of the biggest disconnects is funding opportunities for underrepresented nonprofit founders, and um, really just I would say just support in general, right? I think the road as a underrepresented nonprofit founder, it's challenging, it's rough, it's often lonely. So help the people who are helping, right? And that's a call to action to the foundations, the government agencies, the school systems, the decision makers in the community. Help those people who truly have a heart to help, not just the people that's in closest proximity to you. Because someone in close proximity, they might not have the solutions. They may not have the vision, right? Look beyond your social bubble. Find the underrated, not yet found geniuses that exist in your community, because I guarantee you're out there and they're working. They're working to get out of this hamster wheel and to promote this systematic solution. Just just need that support. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, it does. It does, and I think you're saying something that's so succinct, of course, to what we're looking at, not only here for Creative Juneteenth, but I think the idea of stories, right? The idea of being able that people can relate to stories that are relatable to them, their experiences, their culture, the neighborhoods, and I think the the real genius behind Tech is the Trap is that we have founders that have those stories, but we're connecting with people who likewise have a lot of those same backgrounds, but at the same time, a lot of that same ambition, that same talent. And we can see that narration of how to take your talent to get to the spaces that you want to be. And again, seeing someone on the other side of that story that again you can relate to is where I think we're really reimagining a brand new future, but with something that feels familiar but fantastic at the same time. And so, where like your story, particularly, right, where you've been able to build and develop that not only from a professional standpoint, but then look within the community and see that not only from the technology side do we have that value, but culturally we have that value, and being able to connect all those dots together. And again, sharing the story of the entrepreneur, which, as you say in the Greek, sometimes, particularly for our not-for-profit space, can be underfunded, can be overlooked when other opportunities come. But I think that also just goes back to the idea of Trap University, where even in those circumstances, we're still persevering, we're still finding methods of success. And in that type of ingenuity, that's that skill that's absolutely vital to
Mhm.
build tomorrow. And
Yes.
so, that's just so well, I get all of that not only out of you and your example, but in looking throughout the consortium and the future of what Tech is the New Trap is really a social innovation platform helps bring a lot of those conversations within the same room.
Yes. And I think someone said ingenuity is the mother of innovation. And when you're an entrepreneur, innovation is where it's at. So imagine how many hidden gems exist in underrepresented communities who use and leverage ingenuity as a way of life to get by, to survive. And they just have been doing it in such a small bubble, right? They can take that same mind and with the proper support and resources expand it. And now we have just genius on the move. And I truly know that our society is moving in that direction where there's going to be a newfound appreciation for underrepresented entrepreneurs because we bring that ingenuity and innovation to the table. And it's going to be transformative across all society once we hit the ground running and actually operate with the full power of our community, yeah.
That's amazing, and amazing tomorrow that we're building in real time. So it's good to be optimistic, and I think rightfully so that all the things that we need are within that tool set where we have black culture, black talent, black ingenuity. That the narratives of tomorrow just are all pointing in the right directions. So kind of in sum, how can we support Tech as a D Trap, also the Diversity Cyber Council, and yourself as your entrepreneurial journey goes? What are the things that we as a community can bring to bear, or for us that are looking at getting into this space? What can we do to connect and collaborate with you and these initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, I think in these moments, people usually go for the Hail Mary pass. I'm going to go for the low hanging fruit, and that is acting with kindness and intentionality towards anybody you come across. Like just operating with that mindfulness to act with kindness, I think that will begin to replicate itself in our community. And oftentimes we kind of operate like reactionary. Let's be
Mhm.
intentional about kindness and respect and advocacy. And in terms of how you can help us, I would say specifically, well, follow us on social media, Tech Overtrap, TECHOVATRAP. You can contact me directly at ODIE gray, GRAY, at Diversity Cyber Council. That's cyber, CYBERCOUNCIL.com. And honestly, just hit me up and let's work. Let's build partnerships. Let's collaborate. Let's talk ideas and talk execution, right? I would say that Tech is New Trap and Trap University as a whole is a no lip service zone. Like, so if you come for real because we're for real. And that's the only energy we're accepting from people, right? Is people who have a true heart to give, people who have a true intention to support, and people who truly want to be advocates how we need it, not how they want to give it, which is a big difference. There's a lot of giving based on how people want, but it's not measuring up to be impactful. You have to give in a way that's impactful. And I would include systematic so we can build in consistency and have longevity, right? Not just a one time giving of $10,000 to a business. All due respect, I see that a lot. But for an entrepreneur that's struggling to get by, that 10K is going to last them to the end of the month and they're going to be back in grind mode, right? We have to be more understanding and look at things from the perspective of these underrepresented founders, what they're going through, the challenges that they're experiencing, and saying, "Hey, I will empathize, not only empathize with you, but I'll be an advocate. I'll stand in that foxhole with you, and I'll help you make it to that next level. And I won't leave you until you do, until you can hold your own. Otherwise, the current model is not sustainable, and that is what we will transform."
And I think this is a transformative energy and opportunity within the times that we're in, right? So many things, we've seen so much innovation happen even just within the past 10 years. And being able to be intentional, like you say, and bring your authentic selves and be part of the stories of tomorrow within the spaces of tech, whether that's, of course, through Trap University, Tech is a New Trap, and Diversity Cyber Council, and all the spaces that we're looking at being. I'm very excited and support and be a part of what's building here. So I want to just thank you so very much. Of course, we'll make sure that all the information and opportunities are put there on our website, as well as directing them to you and your endeavors. But I just want to thank you so very much for your time and consideration. So, Odie, thank you again.
Thank you, brother. Always appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. And so, with that, we've had Odie Gray, President of the Diversity Cyber Council, as well as leader of the amazing consortium of Trap University and Tech is the New Trap. And so, again, the idea of being a part of the technology stories of tomorrow, both as innovators, educators, but also as entrepreneurs, and knowing that there's a tomorrow that's included in the tech space for everyone. So, we want to make sure that we're creating these new narratives and new stories as we celebrate Creative Juneteenth 2023, And again, my name is Dejan Sneed, here, founder of Subsume, and we welcome you to stay included and stay tuned for more.